again on Lutherans Alive with our Bishop Kurt Kusserow of the Southwestern Pennsylvania Synod. Thanks again for taking the time to come in and share some really profound experiences from the trip to the Middle East.
You're welcome.
As today especially we relate them to advocacy. We were talking a bit about meeting people, hearing their stories, but we also wanted to make reference to a program actually of the Evangelical Lutheran Church in America here in the United States, seeking to make a difference, to have an influence. It's called Peace Without Walls.
Peace Not Walls.
Peace Not Walls.
Peace Not
Sorry
Walls.
about that. Peace Not Walls.
I think this is one of the best things that our church has done, because it seeks a very careful balance in the Middle East situation, asking for peace rather than just lobbying for one particular political solution. One of the stories we heard so clearly in Bethlehem from Pastor Mitri Rahab is that the political solutions that people have offered and are pursuing are all well and good, but they're almost secondary to the real need, and that is to replace walls of every kind with genuine peace.
Walls throughout history, I suppose, have been a symbol of that kind of division and enmity between folks. We think of the Berlin Wall, and there are other walls of note that still stand in other places around the world as well. But the fact that that is at the heart of an active conflict, and that it is still currently being constructed in some places, in some ways, really kind of cries out for our attention, doesn't it?
It does, and of course the actual physical barrier that exists between Israel and Palestinians in the West Bank is the tangible evidence of the walls that exist in many other ways. Walls of fear, walls of suspicion, walls of misunderstanding, walls of doubt. And the Peace Not Walls initiative seeks to overcome all of those walls, not just to address the physical barrier, which of course is a very real challenge for a lot of people, but also all the things that are related to that. And so those are things that we can be part of even at a great distance if we're not physically close to the wall itself.
It is a kind of a profound expression of the gospel that the church, even at this distance, can seek to be a rational and resolving voice, one that can introduce perhaps a way of thinking and can open up ideas that might actually be an answer to the kind of difficult situations. People have puzzled over these problems for so long, and many people, I'm sure, have shrugged their shoulders and thrown their hands up, or at least wanted to. But to try to be a mediating voice,
absolutely,
one that can bring a sense of peace and understanding.
And that's one of the great things that our church gives. On our website, we have a site called Peace Not Walls, and there on that website are things to read and video images of the situation in Israel and the West Bank. Helpful ways that people can get involved locally to overcome some of those things, and a very clear statement of our purpose in doing this, based on Ephesians, that says that our Lord Jesus has broken down the dividing wall of hostility between us. And of course, that reference is to Jews and Gentiles. But based on that, the Peace Not Walls initiative looks for a day when there will exist a contiguous, autonomous Palestinian state and a safe Israel that is at peace with its neighbors, and the city of Jerusalem that is shared freely with Jews and Christians and Muslims. So there is a very specific intent and desired outcome for this advocacy. But I don't think that it's based particularly on any political situation as much as it is what we see would be the thing that would bring peace, or the result of peace if those walls of hostility are broken down.
very, very difficult challenges to take on, very lofty goals to seek to achieve, but certainly worthwhile. And if you hear them, I'm going to ask you to repeat them again, that set of three. If you hear them together, I think it gives that understanding that it is a possibility. It is a workable solution if somehow or other we can find the way to those. Would you go ahead and just repeat
I
them
will.
once?
Those three very specific goals of the Peace Not Walls initiative are, first of all, an autonomous and contiguous Palestinian state. That would be a place where Palestinian people can live self-governed. And then a safe Israel that lives at peace with its Arab neighbors. And I think that's a critical component, because part of the wall is a desire to make for a safe Israel. And then also a shared Jerusalem, that holy city that is a holy city to Jews and to Christians and to Muslims. And to make that, as so many biblical prophecies hope for, that Mount Zion, that city of God, would be a place where people come together in peace.
It truly is remarkable when you try to think about the meaning of that place in terms of the religious beliefs of all three of those groups.
One of the stories, again, to fit in our theme of advocacy about that place, was our attempt to enter the courtyard of the Al-Aqsa Mosque. And we had permission for months in advance to come and do that, both from the Israeli government and from the Muslim caretakers of the mosque. And when the actual day came and we came to the gates, we weren't allowed to come through. And what the problem was the local people on the ground who could not trust that it had been sorted out because it was so unusual a thing, and were afraid to give that kind of responsibility over to others, and so eventually we were turned away. So there again is another story of advocacy, that even with the best plans where everyone agrees and things are settled months in advance, when it comes to the actual implementing of it, the conditions on the ground from one person to the next can be anxious enough that all the plans come to naught.
Sometimes the fear and mistrust overcome or foil the reality of what has been accomplished.
Right, that's exactly it.
Well, I suppose we have experience of those things in other
We
places
do.
in our lives as well.
We do.
But at a place like that, where it becomes such a focal point for so many, for the hopes and dreams and the fears and mistrust of so many people, it really becomes a momentous event whenever
It does.
anything happens. Well, it had to be a remarkable feeling just to be there and to be going through that situation as well, to have that sense of anticipation and to think that it might come to a reality for you and for everyone there. And what a momentous step that would have been.
It would have been, right, and all the more tragic that our hopes had been built up so high. But again, that is the story of so many of the people in Israel and in the West Bank for generations, those who've worked for peace and have seen their plans come almost to fruition and then be dashed by some seemingly small event that brings back everyone's fears and brings back the misunderstandings and returns again to those walls that divide us.
We're at the point where we do have to take another break. I would like to come back for the third segment and spend a little time thinking and talking about how to give voice to that in this place,
Good.
and this time in southwestern Pennsylvania as well.
Good.
Thanks again. We'll be right back.